Hey guys, Dov here, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action! Oh yes, Paladin's giving a speech here to these Grail Knights. You know what it is then. We're taking Bretonnia, we're up against the High Elves, Red Legion, and I were practicing for the faction war, which will have already happened by the time you see this, but yeah, he wanted to practice his High Elves against Bretonnia, so here we are. I have taken a build with a Fey Enchantress and two Paladins, obviously all on horseback. We've got two Grail Knights here. Actually, one of them is Grail Knight, one of them is the Companions of Quenelle, and we've got two more Grail Knights in the back, bunch of peasant mobs up front, four archers, one of them is a poison archer, and we've got some men-at-arms also. As for Red Legion's High Elves, got Techless leading the way with a Star Dragon, so looking for some Kindle Flame synergy there. We've got one unit of Rangers to blend infantry, a whole bunch of Spears, Sisters of Avalorn for magic armor-piercing damage, and yeah, Silver Guards, obviously a very good pick in this matchup. A Death Mage as well, just for Spirit Leech, for picking away at my cavalry, and he's also got the Fireborn, so right off the bat, with the Rangers coming up front, I'm going to just loose all of the arrows into them, focus fire very nicely here, and despite their physical resistance, they will take quite a bit of damage. Basically, this is like one of the most vulnerable units to my archers, right? Although I probably should be focusing on the Sisters of Avalorn, all things considered, but I kind of hung the Fey Enchantress out here as bait, and we're going to go ahead and catch the Dragonborn on the charge here with the Grail Knights and Companions. Obviously, a huge loss, but I do take a breath to the face there in response. Likewise, those Sisters are pouring in some supporting fire. Red Legion going to be able to pull those Fireborn away, hits them with a regrowth, should be able to recover them decently. I mean, I did get quite a bit of damage there, but meanwhile, he's kind of taking a little bit of a defensive position here, so I'm fine with that. We can just kind of sit back with most of my forces in a reserve and just pour in the bow fire and let the peasant archers do some work there. Meanwhile, here, Spirit Leech picking away at some of the Grail Knights. The Companions have also taken quite a bit of damage there, all things considered. We did trade some damage on the Fireborn, but at the end of the day, it's probably worth it in terms of resource trade, like probably about dead even there. I am going to go ahead and hit a regrowth on those Grail Knights, and as soon as the Star Dragon charges down, the Paladins are going to do their thing, run in here, use their anti-large and charge bonus to go after this Star Dragon. Paladins, these Paladins don't have any abilities. I think only one of them has Guardian here, basically just to make them as cheap as possible. Oh man, and here comes the Comet. Does a pretty good amount of damage to those spears there. Likewise, the Fiery Convocation just roasts out a bunch of my archers, wasn't quite able to move them out in time, and the Pox arrows just straight up shatter there, so some nice back and forth here, charging these Grail Knights and the Companions back, kind of cycle charging a little bit here, trying to not stay in combat for too long against all those spearmen. We get a nice Shield of Thorns here for extra weapon damage and physical resistance. Since a lot of the Bretonnian cavalry is non-armor piercing, like I really only have one questing knight, right? The extra weapon damage from Shield of Thorns is actually pretty nice here, especially on the charge. You know, just giving that little bit of extra boost there, a little bit of extra punch can help quite a bit, especially when rear charging like these High Elf Spearmen and so on, but things are looking pretty even. Star Dragon's going to eat a regrowth here, and both my Paladins have taken some damage. I guess one of them is still pretty healthy here, but this one gets terrified away. Meanwhile, these other Grail Knights, this other unit kind of swept up and around here, finally connecting on the Sisters of Avalorn, and this other unit's going to charge in here. Beautiful rear charge. Have to say, Grail Knights, probably my favorite unit in the game. I don't know if they're necessarily the best. I do think Blood Knights are actually objectively a little bit better. Just because that's mostly because of lore of vampires and because of the fact that they're undead. But Grail Knights have to be my favorite unit in the game, aesthetically, thematically, and they are certainly exceptionally powerful if you use them correctly. They are a little bit squishy, but yeah, the extra physical resistance certainly helps here, and that perfect vigor in the late game especially can be absolutely massive when your opponent's forces are tired here. Like if we take a look, the Star Dragon's already winded, which is not too bad, but a lot of these other forces, like these Spearmen, still active. Sisters of Avalorn are tired, but of course, these Grail Knights will be still fresh. Yeah, with that perfect vigor active. So yeah, in the late game here, we charge in, get a nice engagement all around this Star Dragon. It has got quite a few kills there, 2 XP chevrons, but the Grail Knight's able to just continuously sweep in and out here And yeah, with the spears kind of getting outmaneuvered, the Silverin Guard, and continuously bogged down by peasants, the archers have been able to provide consistent overwatch fire as well, and actually the Star Dragon will take consistent damage from focus fire, because, you know, the peasants, they have good enough AP values, certainly, to get it done. But both casters calling down their bound spells here, and both of us trying to dodge. Doing so fairly well. Oh man, that Death Caster just got absolutely bounced by that one. But yeah, Teclis took it on the chin from the Paladins a little bit there. And despite the fact they're both pretty low, they're both still here fighting. Fanchantress still kind of hanging around as well, doing her drain thing. So yeah, feeling pretty good about that battle. This is a matchup that's pretty interesting. A lot of people, myself included, have kind of said that this matchup is a little bit in Bretonia's favor, and I do think that is somewhat the case. The new High Elf tools do help, certainly, but I don't know. Like, this type of a build, really, with this very aggressive ground game, Grail Knights, they just hard counter so many of your units, and despite the fact Silverin Guard, you know, they're pretty helpful, certainly. The fact they have the magic resistance, they have good AP values, although their AP values did just get nerfed a little bit there, but still, plus 20 bonus versus large is absolutely massive, right? So, definitely a very strong unit in this matchup, but one of the advantages you have as Bretonnia is numbers, and the Paladins give you cheap, mobile single entities that can kind of team up 2v1 on a more expensive single entity like this Star Dragon and trade very cost effectively. I mean, the two of these guys between them, I think, is probably like 1,400, 1,500 points. If you put them together, and I mean, that's obviously like, what, like 800 points less than the Star Dragon, give or take? I don't know, I can't math right now. But yeah, anyway, it's very cost-effective regardless. The Fanchantress, of course, with her Drain. And yeah, I've talked a little bit about this before, but I just want to kind of highlight, personally, I like Shield of Thorns better in most situations than Earthblood, and there's a specific reason for that, right? So if we go ahead and have a look at Bretonnia here. So Earthblood has a max number of targets, right? It heals a pretty good amount of HP, and if you hit 4 targets with it, it's actually pretty magic efficient as far as heals go. It's one of the most magic efficient heals if you hit all 4 targets. But it still has a max, you know, 4 target cap, and it's always better, in my opinion, to not take damage in the first place than to have to heal damage that you've already taken, right? So Earthblood, if you consider against Shield of Thorns is a little bit more expensive in terms of Winds of Magic, but it has no number of max targets, right? It also lasts longer. Earthblood's only 7 seconds, whereas Shield of Thorns is 22 seconds of 22% physical resistance. Now, obviously, this can be countered by magic damage, so there are certain situations where you're not going to get the effect of the mitigation there. And since Bretonnia has Blessing of the Lady, a lot of people will think about that and think, okay, I need some kind of magic damage to get through the Green Knight or units that have Blessing of the Lady, that physical resistance. You know, they may end up bringing magic damage, so Shield of Thorns, you know, it may not be the best. But considering the matchup, here, Alariel can give AoE magic damage, and Teclis also has Flaming Sword of Ruin, which can counter that Shield of Thorns. However, I decided to kind of gamble and just bring it anyway. The weapon damage portion, as I mentioned, is also pretty good here, but just quickly touching on the High Elves again. Yeah, Alariel here with her AoE ability. This one gives magic damage, so that counters that. And of course, Teclis, Flaming Sword of Ruin plus Kindle Flame is actually pretty good in this matchup to give fire damage and that damage boost, and of course, more base weapon damage as well. Something like Silverin Guard or even like Dragon Princess countercharging in can do very well with that effect up. But anyway, back to Shield of Thorns. Again, on the weapon damage portion, it is base weapon damage, it's non-armor piercing, right? Then you come in here and look at something like Grail Knights. They have a pretty good amount of base weapon damage, 23, 15 AP is also pretty good, but if you juice that up, and especially overcasting Shield of Thorns gives a greater effect on melee damage, and 60% base weapon damage puts Grail Knights up, I think, in the 50s in terms of their weapon strength, and then you add their charge bonus on top of that, and then on the charge, you realize they're hitting for like 130 to 150 each with 45 models. Yeah, it gets pretty out of hand pretty quickly with 42% physical resistance as well. So if your opponent doesn't have magic damage, then that's absolutely going to destroy them. But in a matchup like, say, Norska, for example, where it's almost guaranteed that they're going to bring units with innate magic damage, or against, I don't know, maybe like Dark Elves as well, potentially some other factions, you might not want to bring the Shield of Thorns and instead bring the Earthblood, but anyway, that's enough of an end-screen ramble for me there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.